Hey, thanks for entering your email. You are brilliant. Right now, you have art, ideas, and creativity inside your head that the world has never seen or heard, but it's time they did. And lucky for you, there's never been a better time to make art that matters. It's never been easier to put your music out into the world for others to enjoy, for your grandkids and their grandkids to discover, for strangers across the globe to discover. Once you create it, it's forever. And that's what's so alluring about turning your ideas into a real, tangible, forever form of your music, an album. Right now, there's already a group of musicians who are able to quickly and easily fund the creation of their albums while creating new fans and strengthening the bond they have with their current fans. On Kickstarter alone, 14,000 DIY musicians have successfully raised more than $100 million. This isn't counting the many other crowdfunding platforms around the world, and it's growing rapidly. As music crowdfunding evolves, it's quickly morphing into an album release model instead of just a fundraising model, which you'll learn about in future training, so watch your inbox. But there's a much larger group of musicians who are completely missing out on this brand new opportunity to launch and grow their music and fan base while staying debt-free. There's a key difference between these two groups of musicians that will probably surprise you. It's not that the successful group has more fans. As a matter of fact, you don't actually need fans at all to do this. It's not that these artists are finding ways to go viral or get their music in front of more people. This one key difference is speed. The first group of musicians are going from idea to launch in a matter of weeks, while the other group take 3 to 9 months to launch their Kickstarter. This massive procrastination causes the large majority of these artists to never even launch. Here's the problem. In this context, procrastination doesn't necessarily come from laziness. It comes from not knowing what the next step should be. It also comes from pouring time and effort into the wrong things at the wrong time. If you knew the proper timing, the proper sequence, and could prioritize these steps in order of importance, don't you think you could be in that first group of musicians? And let's face it, the real reason some artists decide not to crowdfund is that it takes a huge amount of work and time. So in this 2-part training you chose to sign up for today, I'm going to give you the knowledge you need to avoid the common pitfalls of music crowdfunding and streamline your Kickstarter project creation so you can launch quickly. So as promised, over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the dirty little secret of music crowdfunding. And then in the second video, I'll walk you through the music crowdfunding roadmap that Tony Policastro used to raise $9,446 with 0 fans and 0 Facebook. And Jay Stolar used it to raise $50,054 with fewer than 2,500 people on his mailing list. And just so you know, both of these videos are part of the Launch and Release resource library, which includes some advanced case studies, tutorials, and a really powerful tool for estimating how much money you can raise. Access to all of this stuff is just $7, and we're always adding more case studies and tutorials. If you're in a hurry to conquer crowdfunding, then feel free to dig into those case studies and use the music fundability calculator to find out how much money you can raise. If you're just casually studying up and you don't really need to know how much money you can raise right now, we've got all kinds of free help over at the Launch and Release blog, which has already helped thousands of artists jump ahead of the game. You can find that over at launchandrelease.com/blog. And real quick, before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Levi James, and I'm the founder of launchandrelease.com, where we help musicians build a fail-proof crowdfunding project and maximize the amount of money they can raise. The methodologies we've developed over the last year and a half are all backed by data, solid research, and interviews from over 300 music Kickstarter projects. It all started with a project I did with my economics geek friend Ian Anderson called 100 Music Kickstarters to Learn From. Our work has been featured repeatedly around the internet on sites like Hypebot and Music Think Tank, and we've received praise from sites like Pledge Music and Music Raiser, as well as countless musicians who've benefited from our research on music crowdfunding. So you signed up to get the lowdown on what Ian and I learned in our study of over 300 music Kickstarters. I'm going to give you the most important information, so if you go no further, you'll know more than 99% of musicians who attempt to crowdfund. So let's jump right into it. The dirty little secret of music crowdfunding. There's one thing the media, the critics, and even the music marketers don't talk about, simply because they just don't know. Here it is. General crowdfunding wisdom is completely useless to musicians. Music crowdfunding is quite literally its own beast and has almost nothing in common with tech, design, comics, film, gaming, business, or any other type of crowdfunding. The fundamental difference is that all of these types of crowdfunding depend on publicity, blog features, and going viral to bring attention to the product. The success of these projects also depends on creating a sufficient amount of lust for the end product through amazing pitch video and description area graphics, stuff like 3D renderings and prototypes. With music, if you focus on the production of the record or the quality of the music, you're dead in the water, unless, say, you're Aerosmith, for example, with thousands of fans who mainly just want your record. And even if you're Aerosmith, we'd even argue that could be the wrong thing to focus on. But you are not Aerosmith. Yes, you may have a decent following, but what these people will respond to and care about is actually you and your authentic purpose and your story, not your product. Read that last paragraph one more time, because your ultimate success depends on you fully buying into and understanding this concept. What your people will respond to and care about is you and your authentic purpose and story, not your product. If you've been reading books like the Crowdfunding Bible to find advice and tactics for crowdfunding your music project, then you're wasting your time. The same goes for the unlimited supply of in-depth crowdfunding articles like this one here written on Tim Ferriss's blog. When it comes to crowdfunding knowledge, musicians have been left in the dust and completely ignored. So in other words, most of the industry's assumptions about music crowdfunding just aren't true. So here is the truth about music crowdfunding. 45% of music crowdfunding projects fail. 75% of music projects raise less than $10,000. Most successful music crowdfunding projects have fewer than 300 backers. Actually, that's a little high. It's more like 200 backers. Strangers very rarely account for a significant portion of funds raised, and I'm talking far less than 10% on average of your funding is going to come from strangers. The focus of successful music crowdfunding projects is rarely the music. Mainstream news outlets loathe pitches from music crowdfunding projects. Most forms of publicity result in little to no increased pledging. In the past year, Kickstarter has only featured 4 music projects in its emails, which is the main source for, quote, getting featured by Kickstarter and making a bunch of money. Over-pledging and pledging without choosing a reward is actually very, very common with music crowdfunding. So I know what you're saying, but this can't be right. I've got a plan for a killer viral campaign, and it's totally unique and never seen before, and I'm going to make some waves. Well, I hear you. It's hard to resist the urge to come up with a million time-wasting ideas like a series of videos that you'll release on Facebook every week of your campaign, or business cards with the Kickstarter link that you can pass out at shows, or advertising on Facebook and tightening your image and branding just before launching. As musicians, we are pre-programmed to want to get in front of as many people as possible or to get exposure. Well, this may be the case for trying to get your music out there, but it's not how you approach a crowdfunding campaign. Unless, of course, you're begging to spend 80% of your effort and time on things that won't get you pledges. By now, you should have gathered that music crowdfunding success is not based on exposure to strangers, getting publicity, going viral, getting in front of more people, or getting featured by Kickstarter. And trust me, your plan is not going to disprove our research of more than 300 music projects and our exhaustive hands-on experience. Listen, I'm not trying to take the fun out of your visions of blowing up the internet with your Kickstarter campaign. Our methodology leaves plenty of room for crazy viral dreams and attempts at finding new strategies, but there is a proven system for guaranteeing your success and fully maximizing your unique fundraising potential. So let's look at Jay Stolar for a second. Jay Stolar's first Kickstarter with his band, Julius C., just barely raised $5,000. This time, he used our systematic approach to raise more than he ever thought possible, and he's never felt more aligned with his life's mission. 2014 will bring Jay his first solo album, a world tour, and full PR. Tony Policastro didn't believe in Facebook. He had no mailing list and 0 fans. He started with nothing, literally nothing. Using our 6-step approach to music crowdfunding, Tony was able to hit his initial goal of $3,000 within a couple days, and then go on to raise almost $10,000 and fund a second record. That's right. He set out to fund one record, and he hit his goal so early that he added a second record to the project. Pretty amazing. So remember the memory eraser in Men in Black? Well, if our plan worked well, your understanding of music crowdfunding should now be set back to zero, as if you had no preconceived notions or poisonous misconceptions about how it actually works. Well, this concludes part 1 of our training. In the next video, I'm going to show you the 6 elements of the music crowdfunding roadmap. This is the exact framework we've perfected and used to create music Kickstarter projects in record time while raising massive amounts of money with guaranteed success. Click the link below to start watching that video now. If you'd like to access the tool that we use in order to guarantee the success of artists we work with, feel free to register below to get the Music Fundability Calculator. In under a minute, you can find out how many backers you're likely to get and how much money you're likely to raise based on entering 4 numbers into the calculator. You'll also get access to the 60-minute video case study, how I went from raising $5,000 with my first Kickstarter to raising $50,000 with my second. This is an in-depth play-by-play case study of exactly how we helped Jay Stolar raise $50,054 in 30 days. In this detailed case study interview, Jay goes in depth on the technique we used to hit his $15,000 goal on the first day and reach $23,000 by day 3 of his campaign. You'll also learn the huge mistake Jay almost made with his video, which he now laughs at because it seems so ridiculous in retrospect, but surprisingly, most artists are predisposed to dreaming about this same video idea, and it's always a mistake. But you get much more than just the calculator and the case study. Also included are 2 more advanced case studies, one from Aaron Howard, who raised $10,127 with fewer than 200 people on his mailing list, and another advanced case study from Tony Policastro, who raised $9,446 with 0 fans, 0 email list, and 0 Facebook. Both of these guys spill huge actionable insights for how they essentially raised 10 grand out of thin air by following the 6 elements we're about to cover in the next video. If you use just one piece of advice these guys talk about in their interviews, it can easily be worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to your project, not to mention gobs of time saved by avoiding some of the common traps artists fall into. So again, today $7 gets you the Fundability Calculator, which will help you drastically increase your chance of success by knowing how much you can raise before you launch, plus 3 60-minute video case studies with musicians who've just done exactly what you're trying to do. These interviews aren't the fluffy 5 tips from this artist who just did a Kickstarter. These are no-holds-barred, tough questions, numbers, stats, what worked and what didn't. In case study number 1, you'll learn how Jay went from raising $5,000 with his first Kickstarter to over $50,000 with his second. In case study 2, you'll learn the exact steps that Tony took to raise $9,446 with 0 fans and 0 Facebook. And with case study 3, you'll learn the one thing that helped Aaron kick his fear of asking for money so that he could go on to raise over $10,000 with a tiny little email list of around 160 people. Plus, I've just added an advanced tutorial that walks you through how to do my little $1 Facebook ad trick for promoting your Kickstarter. Right now, when you post to your Facebook page, only about 16% of your fans even see that update. By spending a small amount of money during the crucial launch and end sequence of your Kickstarter campaign, you can get 3 to 4 times the exposure for your posts. Now, this isn't boosting your post. This technique uses the Facebook Power Editor to get much cheaper exposure to your existing fans. And finally, I've put together a special video presentation called 3 Ways to Release Your Next Album, which just might blow your mind a little bit, but it will definitely help you understand why you must embrace crowdfunding, not as fundraising, but as your new way of releasing records for the rest of your creative career. This special video presentation holds the key to your understanding of how the new DIY musicians are going to take the power into their own hands and revolutionize the music business as we know it. Okay, now you have 5 good reasons to drop 7 bones today. But first you need to watch the next video. So part 2, the music crowdfunding roadmap, is on the next page. Just click the link below and start watching.